All right, everybody, I want to take a time to say thank you very much for helping us out with the Amazon.com page. You guys have been going to podcast1.com, been going to the Steve Austin Show page, and you've been clicking on that Amazon banner. And when you do that, you're going to the same Amazon page you're used to going to and doing all your shopping. End result is you get the same prices. Amazon just kicks us a little bit of love here at the Steve Austin Show and helps us pay our bills and keep the show on the air for free. So I want to say thank you very much for the support. It is greatly appreciated. And you can also go to BrokenSkullRanch.com, clicking on that Amazon page. It's the same thing. It kicks a little love to the Steve Austin Show. So check it out. I'm doing something real exciting. I'm coming up with my own Amazon shopping list of things that I think every guy should have. Hey, gals too. But for damn sure, every guy should have one of these things. I'm making up a list. It's going to be on the Steve Austin Show page. Once you go to podcast1.com, check it out. Things that guys need, as picked by yours truly. At the end of the day, I just want to say thank you for shopping on Amazon.com, helping a brother out. It goes a long way. And I appreciate it, and that's the bottom line.
The following program is a podcast1.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch and an occasional side trip to Mexico, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, from the Onnit.com Total Human Optimization Studio, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. Here we are down here in Hollywood, and I feel optimized like a son of a bitch. I got my pocket knife. I took a damn Alpha Brain. I'm ready to rock and roll. Goddamn, I feel a bit foggy this morning. I went out to dinner last night with Norm in Beverly Hills at Mr. Chow's. First time I ate that little extravaganza. Had a couple of Tsingtao beers. Tsingtao. And it's a son of a bitch every time you order a Tsingtao in the restaurant, because everybody looks at you like you're a damn redneck. So anyway, after a bunch of Tsingtaos, only a couple, I drove back home and then opened up a bottle of Pinot. So I'm moving in slow motion today. How are you, Mo?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm kind of trying to shake that rust off as well. I had some Merlot last night. The lady's trying to get me on the wine.
The lady?
So, yeah.
Well, you guys at a restaurant?
No, we're just at home cooking a little dinner. I like to cook dinner for the lady. She's lucky.
Oh, dude, don't even start with this romance bullshit. What did you cook, a grilled cheese sandwich?
No, man, I made some salmon. There's salmon stuffed with some spinach feta cheese, and then I also made a nice, really good endive salad with some blue cheese crumbles and some, I get into that shit.
Dude, there's a whole side of you I do not know. So one of these days, I'm going to have to slide by the crib there and check all this shit out. I might have a reality show on my hands. You in there cooking some stuffed salmon. Reminds me, I bought 2 pieces of salmon the other day. It's still sitting in my refrigerator, and this is about the 3rd day. I better bust that shit open, or it's going to spoil on me.
Yeah.
And I bought that wild Alaskan caught stuff. It costs about $25 a pound.
Jeez.
I mean, I don't know if they're using gold-plated hooks on these sumbitches or not, but I don't know why it costs so much. They must have flown them sumbitches first class over here in Los Angeles, because that's too high.
First class from Kodiak, Alaska, right?
I guess so, man. Hey, check it out. I got Hershey with me. So you can see her. Hershey, the wonder dog, is laying right here on the floor by us. I brought her into the studio today because it's a dog-friendly place here. And then I was driving up here, and my Suburban's in the shop replacing the steering column because that sumbitch was pulling to the right, and then it's pulling to the left when the steering column's fucked up. So anyway, it's in the shop, so I brought my Ford Bronco, and I didn't have my dog leash in there. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I got to get Hershey from the parking lot into the studio, so I need a leash.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to all the stores coming up through here in Hollywood, so I said, man, I'm looking around, and I had a USB cable in my center console. So I'm thinking, ain't no way I'm going to wrap a USB cord around her collar and bring her ass in like a redneck. So I found a Rite Aid grocery store over there, and I went in there, and I started rustling around. I said, well, I found a leash for 99 cents. And then I said, you know what? We need some atmosphere over here in the studio because this is a badass studio, and we have a good time here, but we need a little bit of atmosphere. So I said, man, I'm picking some candles. So I picked up 2 candles, and they were $2.49 a piece. And I said, man, that's too damn much money, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, $2.49 ain't too much, but the candle that I'm burning right now, Mo, I picked up for 99 cents. What do you think about that savings?
I like that savings. I really like this candle, too. It's really just tied in the room. You
Yeah,
know?
brings a
scent.
vibe in here. I meant to bring my big-ass crystal skull, so we really got the feel and the power in this bitch. So I'm going to bring that next time, because if this is the Onnit Optimization Studio, we got to be optimized. And since I'm taking that alpha brain, and that skull represents what's inside that skull, is that gray matter that this alpha brain, the power from which I'm drawn upon to force this podcast forward and entertain people around the world.
Around the world.
You digging what I'm saying?
Dude,
Because it's straight
I
up
am
bullshit.
Digging. No, that's the real deal. You know, they say that crystals give you powers, and they actually help your brain access different energies that are, you know, some like weird lady, some weird shaman lady started. I used to room with a weird shaman type chick, and she started putting crystals above my bed. And I shit you not, my dreams were crazy.
Oh, dude. Now, were you rooming with her or were you banging her? There's a difference here.
She was a hot roommate. It was like one of those hot roommates that we'd cuddle and stuff, and I wanted to bang her, but I knew it would just F up the roommate dynamic.
So did you ever get her to break out her crystal ball and see if she saw a blowjob in your immediate future? Hey, man, let's get this thing back out of the gutter. We're sitting here. Let's talk about the word of the day, because the word of the day is actually two words. It's going to lead me into our segue with my guest of the day, and I'm happy to have him with us today. But the word of the day is rocket science. Rocket science is actually two words. You know what the definition of rocket science is, Mo?
Fill me in.
It's a term used to describe anything considered overly complex to the average person. The Steve Austin Show is not rocket science.
No, it's not.
But if we can entertain people and every now and then drop some useful 411 down the road and help a brother out, such as getting a spare key for your house, buying a pocket knife, stuff like that. Use your seatbelt when you drive. Get the slow ass out of the left lane, get in the right line. Don't text while you drive. That kind of useful shit, that's good. But since the Steve Austin Show is not rocket science, we're talking about regular 411 that can help a brother out, I got an interesting story for you today, or an interesting guest. My guest today is Shane Helms.
Yeah.
And first of all, let's go ahead and bring Shane on to the show. Shane Helms, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. How are you, brother?
Yeah.
Talk to me again. Shane, how are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing awesome, man. North Carolina's looking really good today.
North Carolina's looking good. You know, Shane and I have been staying in touch for several years, and we go way back to, our days in professional wrestling. And when I first started doing my podcast, we'd text each other every now and then, and I'd call Shane up because Shane has his own podcast called Highway to Helms. And you can catch your show on Stitcher and iTunes, correct, Shane?
Yeah, Stitcher, iTunes, and I also put it on YouTube because I film it, so mine's a video too, so mine's on YouTube as well.
So check it out. So then you got the Shane Helms.com YouTube channel, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, so anyway, we started going back and forth and talking on text messages, and hell, I'd give him a call, and we started talking about these podcast things, and I started kind of asking him some of the inspiration from some of the material he put on his show, and talked about mine, and just chit chat. You know, two guys who got out of the wrestling business. Well, he's currently still involved with it. And since a fellow brother was in the podcast business, I dropped a little 411 by him and asked him a few questions and pick his brain. And we started talking about, having a good time and what my show was all about, but also about helping a sumbitch out with some useful information. And that's what led us to, talking, Shane, to what happened to you. And when I'm talking about what happened to you, I'm going back to May 5th in 2011 when you had that motorcycle crash. And you kind of were in the mindset of wanting to do something along the lines of a PSA, at least to kind of get the word out that, man, think twice, because it only takes once to really get yourself in a bad situation. And that's why we're talking today. But before we get there, man, let's talk a little bit about your wrestling career, because you broke in 91, right?
Yeah, 1991.
Who trained your ass, man? Because I did all my research on you. Who trained you?
Well, that's a funny story. I think I can lay claim to the fame that I'm the only guy in recent memory that was actually never officially trained by anybody. It probably sometimes shows, but I got involved with an independent company when I was 13, and I was doing like odds and ends for them. I was helping set up the ring, sweeping the floors and shit after the show. I'd carry the ring jackets back to, I would do whatever, and I would just get in the ring and play by myself whenever I had not with myself, but just by myself, whenever I had a free moment. And And then I would go to the school, and I just noticed that these guys really didn't, they didn't know what they were doing. And I'd watched wrestling all my life. Like, these guys were locking up, like, not the collar and elbow. They were just touching each other's shoulders. And I was like, these guys can't even lock up. And so I go in there and I teach them how to lock up. And then keep in mind, I'm 13. And so at 13 years old, I end up kind of start training people, and I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. But it was kind of a go as learn as you go along process. And there would be guys that actually were in the business that would come to the where we would train at, and I was learning stuff from different guys here and there. But as far as going to a school like a Chris Adams school or Dory Funk Jr. school, anything like that, I never did that.
Well, growing up in North Carolina, who were some of your influences as far as when you started putting your style together? Well, okay, before you got into business, who were you a big fan of?
Well, I'm a NWA Mid-Atlantic guy. We didn't get the WWF till I was in high school, so I was all Mid-Atlantic, and I would get World Class, and that's where I first saw you at. But I was if you want to go early, Steamboat and Youngblood were like my very first favorite. And I always tell Jerry Briscoe that he's the first guy I ever hated, him and Jack. When they turned, heel and they beat up Steamboat and Youngblood, like they're the first heels I ever hated.
Man, you're going back to some good
guy. I just loved all of those guys, man. Rock and Roll Express was some early favorites, Dusty, Nikita, Magnum. And then when the Horsemen really blew up, of course, like all guys my age, I turned into a heel fan. And then it was Ric Flair from that point on. Ric Flair and Randy Savage are my two favorites of all time.
Man,
present company excluded, of course.
Well, I mean, but dude, the people you just named were all, man, damn near Hall of Famers. And when you talk about the Briscoes versus Youngblood and Steamboat, man, you know about some classic ass tag team wrestling. If you got a good tag team match on the card, that match can steal the show damn near every night of the week just because of that dynamics involved. And when you got the Briscoes against Steamboat and Youngblood, man, by the time Briscoe and him cut off the ring and one of those guys is fighting for the tag and drawing that referee and not meddling him and not jacking with his heat or fading the heat, that's some badass tag team wrestling. How come you don't figure Rock and Roll Express get no more credit they get? They're one of the greatest tag teams walking the face of the earth.
Maybe they just like burnt bridges or something. I don't know. They damn sure should. They were as over could be at that particular point in the business. Probably the hottest act in the business at that time. I guess you had Hulkamania and, kind of running wild up in WWF, but Rock and Roll was as hot as it could possibly be, especially down, in the NWA area. They definitely are a Hall of Fame material, without a doubt.
So in 1999, you end up in WCW. You sugar Shane Helms. You end up with a group called 3 Count. How did that transpire? How did you work your ass from not having any real training? You're training people at 13 years of age. All of a sudden, you got a job in WCW. How in the hell does that happen?
Well, I did a lot of the indies. I did the indies for 8 years. So I had a lot of learning on the job experience, and it was a pretty hard time. I was a pretty decent amateur wrestler. I amateur for 7 years. And I would do tournaments, like if I didn't have a pro show, I would do a amateur tournament that weekend or vice versa. So I kind of just used that to help me from getting my ass kicked all the time. Because a lot of big guys, this is like pre-cruiserweight era. And not really, no real lightweights were big in America at this time. So a lot of the big guys just tried to beat my ass, the I can't sell for little man syndrome, a lot of those guys had. So I kind of just had to fight my way through it all. And just kind of, I had a natural feel for it. I guess that's the only thing I can really say about it, because a lot of people don't pick up what we do. It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world. So, but luckily I kind of had a natural feel for it. And I think I just loved it that much, and I watched it so much. And that's what helped. How the 3 Count thing came about is actually myself, Shannon Moore, Joey Mercury, who was Joey Matthews at the time. He was in WWE for a little while with Eminem. And a guy named Christian York, who just was in TNA, only recently got released. We were doing this gimmick in Nashville, Tennessee. And Nashville is very old school Southern style. And the promoter had this idea where we're called the Bad Street Boys. Like, obviously playing out with the Backstreet Boys, but we were Bad Street. And we only did that for like 2 or 3 months, but we did it because we knew that WCW got tapes from Nashville. It was called Music City Wrestling. And we knew that WWF guys got them, and we knew that WCW got the TV tapings. And so that's why we did it. And then me and Shannon, we sent in tapes, or Shannon Moore actually sent in a tape, and it was perfect timing because Eric Bischoff was going to do this reality show thing, kind of like Tough Enough, but it was going to be all cruiserweights. So they were looking for a bunch of American cruiserweights because they had a lot of the luchadors, and they had a couple of guys from Japan, but they didn't have any really good American cruiserweights, other than, Kidman. That was like basically it. So we basically got hired off of tryout tapes. Well, Shannon got hired. Then they flew me down to Houston, and I got hired off of one match.
Well, so when you before you guys hooked up, I mean, if you were a smaller cat back in the day, but this is kind of pre-cruiserweight era, were you working basically regular pro style and then shifted into more cruiserweight once they opened up that division?
Well, I was always a big fan of Japan wrestling. Anyway.
Right.
So I had a lot of taste. So I was doing a lot of Liger. I was a big fan of Liger. And if you go into Mexico, I was a big fan of Negro Casas. He was a guy that I liked. There was a couple other luchadors I liked too. So even back in the day, I always studied different styles, and I was really big on trying to combine it and make something new. Like what I would do, I didn't want to do just lucha style, but I would just do it here and there. And I didn't want to do just the Japanese style, but I would do it here and there, And I tried to combine that with the Southern American style, which is what I love the most out of all styles. And that's what I did at Sugar Shane. And I did a little bit of it when I was Gregory Helms. When I became the Hurricane, I really couldn't because that was such a gimmicky character, but that was always my style. I just tried to create this hybrid thing.
Yeah, but and once you come up with the Hurricane thing and you came into WWF, that's when you had that entertainment factor that was kind of paramount that goes with that territory. But what let you release with WCW, and how did you end up in WWF?
Oh, I didn't get released. I was there when Vince bought it out.
Oh, you got balled up when he put Ted Turner out of business.
Yeah.
So what was that? What was going through your head? They get bought out, and you just get grandfathered in or segued into WWF. How was the shift? Because I had already been there for a little bit of a while then, and so, but I wasn't right in the middle of where you were at. What was going on in your head when you guys got bought out, absorbed, and now you're in the WWF? Because as we all know, man, that's the big leagues. That's where everybody wants to go. So what was your thinking on that?
Well, I mean, I was thinking, man, this was basically, no matter what anybody says, we were all scared shitless that last night. We didn't know. We were hearing in the month leading up to Vince buying it out, we would hear that there was somebody new buying it out every week. Every week there was somebody new buying it out. We just didn't know what the hell was going on. And at I was the cruiserweight champion at the time in WCW, but I was still, a relatively new guy to the company. I mean, this was, 2000 going into 2001, and I only went there in '99. So I don't, I'm not like in with, the office where I could go ask questions, but we would just all hear shit. Some kind of energy company was buying it this week, and some kind of other company was buying it this week, and then we heard Eric himself was going to buy it one week. It was just chaos. But, most of us were just trying to go out there and let's just keep putting on a good product as much as we can. We only got so much control. The control I have is in the ring, so I would just go out and try to do good matches. And so when we get there, that final Nitro, some of us still didn't believe there was going to be that Vince had bought us out because they would try to kayfabe us. WCW would on everything. They would try to work us and shit, so we didn't know. When we get in there and we see signs on the door that say, like, WWF or some shit like that or whatever it was, and we're like, man, they still kayfabing us. We don't know. And now we got a big talent meeting, and we're all in there. And Shane McMahon walked in. And that's when, reality sunk in. That's when reality just slapped the shit out of all of us. And we're like, oh, fuck. Like, it's on now. No doubt. McMahon's are here. And so for a lot of us, we just didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen. Shane gave us all a pep talk that, WCW was going to continue going forward. And, there's only too many slots on TV, so we were all worried, are they going to bring me? Who's going to get fired? Who's going to get brought up? Luckily, I had that cruiserweight title, so I was like, well, hell, they're going to bring me in at least to lose the damn thing. So I just wanted to get through that last night with that title. I was prepared to shoot Ben Chavo if I had to. Like, if I could just leave with this title, they'll at least bring me in to lose the damn thing. So
you end up in WWF. How do you pitch these guys the Hurricane idea? Because I know you're a big fan of the Green Lantern. Who do you just say, hey, man, I got an idea?
Well, I'd done some house shows at Sugar Shane. with WWF.
Right.
You know, we did a couple loose house shows and shit. What was supposed to happen was that I was going to be introduced on TV as the Cruiserweight Champion, have a little run with Chavo. I would eventually drop that strap to Kidman, and then Kidman was going to go on to work X-Pac because X-Pac was the light heavyweight champion, and Kidman was a bigger name for me at the time. And so I knew that, you know, I was fine with that, you know, here's what it is. But when Booker T and Bagwell had that really bad match on Monday Night Raw, they decided to shotgun me and Kidman. And so I didn't get to be introduced against Chavo. I had to come out there my first night on WWE TV and lose that title. And also that day I found out, and this is where it gets funny, and this is where I think I'm going to get fired. Because I already had a backstage incident with Bagwell anyway. And so now, here's my debut on TV, and they tell me I can't be Shane. And I can't be Sugar because Sugar was Shane. And also they didn't want me to do my finisher, the Vertebreaker. So now I don't even have entrance music either because my music is the Vertebreaker. And I'm not going to have the Sugar Babies, which were the girls that were with me in WCW.
So you ain't got shit.
Yeah, they were just, I lost my name, my title, my gimmick, my music, my finishing move. I lost everything in like 30 minutes.
What happens?
And then they asked me, is that, well, we're thinking about calling you Hollywood Helms. And I was like, oh, shit, I didn't want that, you know. There's nothing about me that sounds Hollywood, you know, not to mention Hulk was just done with his Hollywood.
Right.
You know. And then there was these other two guys called the Hollywood Blondes. I can't remember their names, but you might. But I didn't want to do that. So, but it's on my Titantron. Like when I come out, it does say Hollywood Helms that first night, but they just call me Gregory Helms, which is my shoot first name. My full name is Gregory Shane. And so I was like, man, you know, I went ahead. We had a match with Kidman. It was, you know, it was what it was. And we had a red eye home that night. And I'm just writing down names. So it's like, Gregory Helms ain't going to cut it, not here.
No.
You know, you need some flash, you need some pizzazz. I need something. And I was the Hurricane Kid for a brief moment back in like 1992 or something like that. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just tell him Hurricane Helms. And so I get the TV the next day, and I go up to Stephanie, and I go, what do you think about Hurricane Helms? And she goes, you don't want to be Gregory, do you? And I go, well, not if I'm going to be a babyface, and, you know, and it's kind of bland. I was like, you know, I just want to throw that out there. She goes, well, let me run it by creative. And they went and did their meeting or whatever, production meeting. And after that, Vince was walking by and Taylor, and he goes, Hurricane Helms, I like it. And if Vince likes it, that's pretty much what you need. So that's how I became Hurricane Helms. But then I was still just a trunks guy, trunks and no kick pads and stuff. And it actually started, the Hurricane thing started with you. Because me and you and Deborah did a backstage segment. And, of course, I remember it because it was very impactful to me, but the whole thing was you were going to ask me about my tattoo. And this is when the invasion angle, when that shit was going on.
Right.
And I didn't have no direction. I didn't know what I was going to say because I didn't know what you were going to say. And you're stone cold. You can say whatever the fuck you want. I'm just lucky to be in the segment. You know, I'm just trying to not shit the bed here. And all Vince kept talking about was that there was a damn tray of fruit or vegetables in there. He goes, when you go in, maybe you eat a carrot. You have Steve do the segment, and when you leave, maybe you eat a tomato. And that's all the fuck he kept saying. Like, it wasn't nothing about the interview. It's just a carrot and a tomato. And I was like, man, these guys are ribbing me. They done shit on these tomatoes or something. And this is a big rib. I didn't know what the fuck. So I had that on my mind. And then, like I said, I didn't know what I was going to say because I was just going to try to play off you. And, yeah, you know, Vance, that's a very possibility that a rib was going on.
Yeah.
And and so anyway, when you asked me about the tattoo, I just started talking about the Green Lantern like it was a real person, and I don't even know why. I was like, yeah, you know, I got Superman one punch, bam. And I remember Devil popping, and then you were kind of feeding off of her, and you were looking back at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they just thought that was funny. And then in the weeks following that, I would do these little segments where I would just be talking like as my normal self, and I would fade off into this crazy tangent story about some comic book shit that didn't have anything to do with anything. And that kind of snowballed. And I get the TV maybe 3 weeks later, and Stephanie's like, you know, Stephanie was the one that always dealt with me back then, and she was like, you know, we're thinking about making you a superhero. And I was just kind of like, yeah? She goes, yeah, like with a cape and a mask and everything. How do you feel about that? And I remember my exact words to her. I said, well, basically right from my underwear now. So, I'll do my best. And that was just it. It's only supposed to be a couple weeks, maybe a couple months was the initial pitch.
Well, see, that's always interesting because when they drive something by, because that was a good idea, but being through what you've been through at the time, when all of a sudden they say, "How does that sound to you?" It's like, hey, man, it's like when they said drove that Ringmaster by me. It's like, it sounds great. That's the best idea I've heard in a long time. And because you're between a rock and a hard place. You walk on the edge of a razor blade because you can say, yes, it sounds great, depending on what mood they are. Because if you say, well, I don't really feel that, and boy, as soon as you say that, you done cut your damn throat.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I wasn't going to say no. I did the same thing, Steve. I know it's funny. We're going to talk about my motorcycle accident before, but when we're going to talk about it later. But when they brought the Huracycle to TV, like there was a time when they were bringing a motorcycle to TV. Vince asked me, he goes, "Can you ride this thing?" I go, "Yep." I ain't never been on one in my damn life. I had to get the stunt guy, Mike. If you remember that old guy with the long ponytail.
Yeah.
I had to get him to teach me how to ride the motherfucker in the parking lot.
Always say yes when they ask you if you know how to do something in the business of pro wrestling. You may kill yourself or somebody else, but you always say yes.
Yeah, when Jimmy Hart came to me with the 3-count idea, he asked me could I sing and dance, and I was like, yep. I know I can't sing with this shit. I was like, yep. He didn't ask me if I could sing good. He just asked me if I could sing. Like, yep.
But what I liked about that gimmick, y'all, was some pretty good-looking cats. And I thought it was pretty neat. It had a pretty good little novelty thing to it, so I kind of dug it. I didn't think it was going to last long, but it got some initial pop. It got my attention. I knew it wasn't going to be in a bunch of main events, but it was damn sure a good little, step in the right direction. But anyway, we're sitting here talking to Shane Helms, my buddy, and you can follow Shane at ShaneHelms.com on Twitter. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about his broken vertebrae. We're going to talk about Lloyd Youngblood, the same surgeon fixed his neck as the one that fixed my neck back in the day. And we're going to talk about his life-changing motorcycle accident. You're going to learn something here on the Steve Austin Show that sometimes you got to think twice because it only takes once. We're coming back with my buddy Shane Helms. All right, folks, dig this. Fantasy football is back, and DraftKings.com is celebrating with millions and millions in cash prizes. DraftKings, it's one-day fantasy sports. One-day games means you're never locked into a season. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's being locked into a season. This is like a new season every single time you play. That's why I dig DraftKings.com. Pick your team in minutes, and you can instantly be getting your share of the $1 million they're awarding kickoff week. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Week 1, this football season, $1 million is up for grabs, and you could be the one grabbing it. All you got to do is go to DraftKings.com. DraftKings is where anyone can enter with a couple of bucks and win big cash prizes. I got a true story for you. Everybody loves a good true story. Well, dig this. One guy won $100,000 his very first time. $100,000 day one? Give me a hell yeah! Play for free. Yeah, free at DraftKings.com. Enter Steve with your first pay game and get free entry into the $1 million kickoff bash. Seriously, free entry that could win you thousands. Thousands! Just playing fantasy football. Use Steve at DraftKings.com. Use Steve at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com.
Welcome to the Steve Austin Show.
Oh, hell yeah. Somebody said there's a hurricane coming through. I'm talking to Shane Helms. You can follow Shane on Twitter at ShaneHelms.com, and you can also go to his website. I got that here somewhere at ShaneHelms.com. www, as a matter of fact, he's on the World Wide Web. And Shane, you're back with me now, and we were about to go into the mistake that you learned a valuable life lesson on. But I want to talk one more thing about going back to your wrestling. You had your neck fixed in 2007, and from what I was reading, you broke 2 vertebrae in your neck. How did that transpire? Who broke your damn neck, or was that just wear and tear?
I think it was just wear and tear. It wasn't no one significant event. there were a couple moments in the ring where I thought that might have could have not helped me out specifically, but that whole style I had with the high flying and the ladder matches and stuff like that, that stuff will eventually get you.
Hey,
and I was having a lot of pain in my body, but it never hurt my neck. That was the thing. My neck itself never hurt, but like my arms would hurt and my legs would hurt and my back, and we got my back X-rayed and my upper back and my lower back and like nothing. But when my neck finally went out, I was doing push-ups before a match, and I got to 3, and it was like I was on a flat bench pressing 300 pounds. I could not push myself up off the ground, and I was straining like hell. And I'm like, normally I could do at least 5 or 6, but I was like, what's just going on here? And I get up, and standing right watching me is Benoit, and Benoit had been through it.
Yep.
And he goes, he's sitting there chewing those little fucking coffee straws he always chew. He goes, it's your neck. And I go, yeah. And then I stood up, and he goes, how's your tricep? And I tried to flex my tricep, and mine was my right arm. Normally, the guys it's their left, but for me, it's my right. My tricep wouldn't constrict. It wouldn't get hard. And I was like, oh, fuck. And so, of course, I still went out and wrestled that night, and I think we had a double shot the next day. And then I went and I had an MRI. I had 2 MRIs on Monday. We had TV was in Baltimore, and we did 2 MRIs. We did one on my neck first, and we did one on my back. And, this things are fucking annoying. You're in that damn little cocoon tunnel thing for whatever, 20 minutes. By the time I was done, we did my neck first. So when we're doing my back, by the time I'm out on my back, they're already trying to plan surgery. That's how bad mine was. Mine wasn't the bones as bad. Mine, the vertebrae were about to sever my spinal cord is what got me. So mine was more of a spinal damage thing. And if your spinal cord gets severed, you either die or you're paralyzed. That's generally what happens.
Yeah.
That's why we couldn't even do a story. I couldn't do a story where, somebody beat me up backstage or some shit. We couldn't do nothing. I just had to get out of there. They were worried about the plane flight to San Antonio, which is where, Youngblood was.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember them being concerned. There's not a lot of things I remember, but I do remember them being concerned about you just getting on a damn airplane.
Yeah, like if it lands hard or something, that whiplash effect fuck you up.
You know what? You know how
to fucking San Antonio, I'll kill myself.
But it's very interesting though that and that's the way Benoit was. He was very observant, and for that guy to be standing there and you're doing your normal routine, and he's been there and done that with his neck, and he sees that you can't get a push up in, and he just says it's your neck. Had he not been there, who knows what would have happened to you? You might have gone in the ring. You might have tried to continue down the road as we all do, and you might have got fucked up and paralyzed in the ring had he not been standing there.
Yeah, it's a very real possibility.
And, obviously, we know what happened with Chris. Some bad things happened out of that, but he also did a lot of great things, and I remember him as one of my favorite guys to watch him perform in the ring. But that being said, certainly he could probably change the course of your life. So you end up going and getting your neck fused. 2-level fusion?
6 and 7.
Now, were you happy with Dr. Youngblood? He did a hell of a job on me, and I loved him. So did you feel like he did a good job for you?
Yeah. Like I said, my right arm was nothing, man. I couldn't do anything with my right arm. I lost, in that short amount of time, I lost 25% of my tricep, over a weekend.
Right.
And maybe 15% of my right pec. And it was painful as shit. I explained to people what atrophy is what your body does when you die. Now, if you're still alive, that creates a fucking problem.
But the thing about it is, man, once you start constricting them nerves, it's kind of like stepping on the middle of a water hose. That water starts going off that water stops going out the end of that hose. Now, the problem with the hose, the thing with the hose is you can take your foot off and it'll keep flowing. But once you step on those nerves in your neck, if you shut those things down for long enough, they will not return. And as you know, man, that atrophy can happen at a very rapid pace, and it's scary as shit.
Yeah, it was super fast. If you pay attention to me closely, you can still see that my right tricep is smaller than my left one. So it just, and nerves heal at 1 molecule a day. They heal slow and shit. So it's still, it's going to be, and this was in 2007 that I had mine. So.
Hey, how long did they use? They use a bone out of your hip or bank bone?
No, I did bank bone and stem cell.
All right. So you come out of that. How long did it take you to get back in the ring after that neck surgery?
Mine was quite a while, because like I said, with it being so much damage to the spinal cord, that created this slew of other problems. I went what they call like metabolic shock, just because my metabolism was like super high, and then it's like to a grinding halt. Like I had all these kind of other difficulties, and I had a problem with the medication too, the nerve regeneration medication.
Right.
I had a problem with that presented itself, and so it was I probably could have came back. Actually, I still think I came back earlier, but I don't think I stepped in the ring like for WWE until like maybe 16 or 17 months.
Yeah, it's a long time. I think I was.
Because I was doing they brought me back, and they were going to reintroduce me as a backstage gimmick, or I was doing pop-up. I was doing this pop-up video thing for like a couple months.
Right.
Where somebody would be wrestling, and my face would pop up, and I'd make some smart-ass remark, and be home.
Hey, check it out. Check it out. Let me ask you a question. This is one of the things that I found when I went through my neck surgery. When I was down in my soft collar and in my hard collar, I would be so bored that I wasn't on the road that I would actually get in my truck and I would drive 30, 40, 50 miles down the road, go to Sonic, get me a jalapeno burger, and turn around and come back so that I could feel like I was on the road. Did you get those withdrawals like that too?
Probably, I mean, I had my motorcycle at the time, so I would be on that thing a lot,
But I just get restless just because you're at the house.
Yeah.
You ain't used to being sedentary in a house.
Yeah, I'm more of a homebody probably than you are, But so I don't mind being home, but like you said, I normally was on the road in the ring 4 nights a week, and now I'm not doing shit. So there definitely was a lot of time when I'm like, man, this is fucking crazy. I got to go do something, But yeah, it's a different change of pace. When you sprinting all the time and now you can barely walk, it definitely changes things for you.
Well,
it kind of plays with your brain a little bit too.
Well, it does.
Like part of the thing with the medication I was on that they didn't tell me was that this medication makes you depressed and suicidal. Like I didn't even know that shit. I was watching the commercial for it. Like as much as I love Dr. Youngblood and all that, when they put me on this medicine, they never mentioned that shit to me. That it'll make you want to go home and fucking kill yourself. And this particular time in my life, my mom died, my stepmom died. I had 3 friends die the same day, a couple friends with the business. So I was going through a lot of like real heavy life shit anyway. And I'm thinking I'm feeling the way I'm feeling just because of what I'm going through.
Right.
At the same time, I got this medication that's put me in a mindset where I'm not ashamed, because everybody knows me now. I'm a really happy guy. I'm a goofy motherfucker like 24/7, I can almost go overboard and drive you crazy with how much I goof around and stuff. And now all of a sudden I'm not that guy no more. And it took me a while to really get over it, like to get that damn medication out of my system. But like I needed it for the nerves, but I just said, fuck it. I just wasn't taking it anymore.
Well, you finally got back on your feet. You made your return to the ring. But let's talk about what happened on May 5th, 2011, because you was chilling at the crib, and this is about making decisions. And this is what you and I talked about to maybe create a little bit of an awareness for some of the people out there that choose to drink a little bit or take a few things before they get behind the wheel of a vehicle or get on the back of a motorcycle. And it was basically your story. So break it down for us. You're chilling at the crib, you're having some cocktails, your buddies come by, and they want you to go ride motorcycles. Tell the story.
Yeah, we basically had this party that lasted till about 6 or 7 in the morning the night before. I'm a third shift type guy. You probably are too, just from being in the business. I don't go to bed till 3 or 4 in the morning most nights. Well, now it's changed because of the kid, but even back then it wasn't. That's just what time I went to bed. But we had this late ass party that went to the wee hours in the morning. We watched the sun come up and all that shit. Anyway, go in my house, take a nap on the couch. Where a couple hours later, my buddies come by and they want to go ride bikes, and I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to make a smart choice. And so we're kind of out, and it's just like you said. What I like to say is think before you drink and drive to stay alive. Make those decisions when you're sober, because once you're drunk, it's kind of out of your hands. Because nobody's ever got smarter by drinking. You might can make a good song or some shit. There's a lot of artists out there that'll get on some shit and make music, but you don't necessarily just come up with, smart ideas and smart decisions when you drink. That's just not the nature of what happens. And so, a bunch of us were out on our bikes and a bunch of us were out drinking, and I was the leader of the pack. I was the guy in front, and somehow a chain link fence just jumped right out in front of my ass. And I went through it. I wasn't going by like 30, 35 miles an hour. It's through, town. But luckily, the guys, there was a car at the stop sign watching me, or watching the shit happen, and the people behind me. My girl was on my bike too. And I reached back and grabbed her and like cradled her against my chest. And I went through the fence, and I was trying to block the fence with my hand, but it caught my face, and that's where the scars are on my face now. And it was actually what almost killed me was my helmet, because the helmet hooked. Well, no, let me rephrase that. What almost killed me was my hands drinking and driving. But aside from that, my helmet hooked the fence, and the chin strap cut my throat. And so, we take a big ass bump on the soccer field. All I can think about is getting to my woman. I know my ankles, my legs hurt like fuck, but I don't know how bad it is. You know how it is when you're in the ring, and you done fuck something up, but it's like, all right, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah, adrenaline.
But I'm doing the Vietnam crawl to get to her. And so I get to her, and there's a moment where I go, who the fuck is pouring water on me? And that was just the thought that went through my head was, is somebody pouring water on me? And I reached up and touched my face, and I could feel that my face had just fucked up. I could feel my jawbone through my skin. Like you could see my jawbone sticking.
Right.
And my bottom lip was almost ripped off. It was like dangling. And like I said, my face, and then I just pulled my hand back, and it's just fucking Abdullah the Butcher covered in blood. I was like, oh, fuck. And and that's when reality hit me hard. Like I knew I had fucked up. And so now it's just a mad scramble to get to Karen. Karen's my woman, just to make sure she's okay. And I got to her, and I just put my head on her foot, and that's when I passed out. And so anyway, I came to, whatever. I was in the hospital. I was going in and out for a while, but I actually lost so much blood that they couldn't give me pain medicine when I got to the hospital. So when they were sewing up my face and shit like that, I was awake for that. Like I was sitting there watching. Yeah. So I had to deal with that, and luckily, nothing long term was with my girl. She had like a scratch on the back of her calf, like a little cat scratch, and like I said, she took a solid bump, no doubt. But other than that, long term, she was perfectly fine.
But you told me when we were talking earlier a couple of weeks ago, you said that the guy that came to pick you up, he was actually a sheriff or paramedic, and when he saw you, he figured there was no way that you should be alive because by what he saw, your ass on the ground there, you were so tore up, shredded, that there's no way that you was going to live through this.
Yeah, he's a state trooper. He's a guy known, and he happened to be on duty. And so some of the paramedics, I live in a small town. Everybody kind of knows me. But they called around, and once he heard that it was me, he raced to the scene. And the state troopers, highway patrolmen, they scrape bodies off the highway all the time. And his exact words were he never seen anybody with that much facial trauma that lived. That was his exact statement. So when the PSA, if I ever eventually get that thing done, he's gonna be in it, just to go on record as saying that. But he went to the hospital with me and all that, and they tried to talk to my parents, and my parents showed up and all that. And like I said, when I woke up, the facial damage aside, the long-term thing was my foot was just hanging on by skin. I broke both leg bones right above the ankle. And the foot, the doctor said, looked like a bag of smashed potato chips. He said it was more breaks than he would even think to count. Like all the toes were dislocated. The foot, like I said, just completely looked like tinfoil rolled up in a ball.
Dude, did you have any shoes on? Were you wearing flip-flops or just barefooted? What the hell was going on?
No, I had my shoes on, but when you're on a bike, you taught to jump off. Like if you got a wreck,
right,
you jump off the bike. And you aim for dirt. Luckily we did land in dirt, but because I cradled Karen, I couldn't jump. I couldn't jump. All I was doing was shielding her, so the whole bike landed on my foot. So it don't matter what the foot kind of boot you're wearing at that point. It just smashed my foot. The bike weighs a lot more than any shoe does. And that was the thing, and they weren't sure I'd ever walk again. Damn sure wasn't sure I'd ever wrestle again. They were just hoping that I could walk. So it was
well, yeah, but check it out. So they scrape your ass up off the pavement. They put you in the ambulance. You go down to the emergency room. They start working on your ass. You come to. You got IVs in you. Hopefully now they've got some blood in you. They got some painkillers in you. So what are you thinking while you're laying in bed? I mean, maybe you're a little bit of shock. Are you thinking, what in the fuck have I just done? What's going through your mind as you're laying there, bro?
Man, you just feel like the biggest asshole in the world. You feel it's humiliating. I mean, the pain, I can deal with pain, and I'm going to fucking have to. I don't really have a choice. But, it was so humiliating, you know, and that's just me being honest as I can about it. I was just so humiliated that I made such a, you know, I don't even want to, how you describe it, just such a dumbass mistake, you know, and I was just humiliated by everything. My first thought coming away was, where's Karen? Where's my girl? You know, and she was coming down the hall anyway, so once they told her I was, you know, fine, you know, she was there with me every day. They had her room. She was in a different room, but she would come every day and just stay with me the whole day anyway. But once I found out she was okay, and then my family's there, and it's just, man, it's embarrassing as fucking shit. I was just humiliated beyond belief that, you know, I mean, I'm a smart guy. I was invited to college when I was 11 years old. But here I am, that smart, and I just felt like the biggest dumbass on the planet. And, you know, so and that's just, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. You know, it was beyond humiliating. And then you start thinking about, like, man, I really almost died. You know, like, you know, I've had a really blessed life. I've had a lot, you know, I mean, I would say better than average life. You know, I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do in my life. So super happy with sharing. Here it was, you know, one fell swoop, almost gone, you know. And I'm not a guy that drinks and drives, and that's part of what I wanted to do with the ESA, how, you know, what we're talking about. Like, I was a guy that would take people's keys.
Right.
You know, I got a buddy who I actually jacked his motorcycle like 2 or 3 times and would take it away from him. And because that's just not me, but this particular night.
So where are you right now with your healing process? Because, man, I think from what I read, I mean, you had over 22 screws, 4 plates, over 200 stitches, you broke legs, ankles, jaw, nose, other fractures. Where are you right now in your healing process? You're getting around because I know you participated in a couple of wrestling matches. What's the future hold for you from a physicality level, and are you 100%, or will you ever be 100%?
No, I ain't never going to be 100% again. I'll be in pain pretty much for the remainder of you know, my stay here on the planet. You know, every morning I get up, that first step kicks my ass, and you know, maybe that's just the price I have to pay. Maybe that's the penance. I don't know. You know, somehow I got a beautiful baby boy out of this deal. My girl is perfectly fine. I'm still alive, still wrestling. So maybe that's just the penance that I have to deal with. But it's exhausting mentally to be in pain all the time. You know, you sit there, you got to, you know, because unless you just take gimmicks all the time, you know, you're going to have to be in pain. And that's how my doctor described it to me. You know, man, I don't want to take medicine all the time. You know, what should I do? And he's like, well, then you're going to hurt. That's your options. And so, but I'm still very cognizant because of what I've seen a lot of my friends go through as far as taking, you know, pain pills and stuff. I'm very cognizant of that. So I just kind of deal with it. But I get in. If you see me wrestle, you won't know, because I can go through a couple, you know, 20, 25 minutes, and I can do, you know, a lot of stuff that I used to. I can't run at a full sprint anymore. You know, I can hit the ropes, you know, full sprint, but as far as taking, you know, like a 100-yard dash, that shit ain't gonna happen. And after the match, I'm kind of beat up. I'm like Ozzy Osbourne. Remember Ozzy, how he was fucked up, like before the match or before the show? Then he goes out and he's awesome, and then he comes back and he's all fucked up again. It's kind of how I am. Like, I'm still great in the ring, but when I come back, I'm like Yoda, all fucked up. And,
so you still riding your motorcycle?
No, I jumped on my girls. My girl's got a Harley Deuce. You know, she's bad, man. I couldn't ask for anything better with this one. You know, she got a Deuce, so I kind of jumped on it and just let me pop the gears, let me say, hey, I'm not afraid of the bike. You know, it wasn't the bike's fault, it was my fault. I'm not afraid of this shit. But the thought process is that now I got a kid. And, you know, even before the accident in 2011, you know, if you're on a motorcycle, there's so many close calls out there, man. People don't watch. You know, there's 10 times when I could have been in an accident, and it just didn't happen, you know. But not because I got the kid, man. I just don't want to take the chance of not being here for him. So,
yeah, and it's
I still got my bike.
Yeah, it's not like
about getting rid of them.
It's not an anti-motorcycle thing, but, you know, you made the wrong decision being impaired getting on a motorcycle thing, but just because of the elements and because there's not a lot of drivers that are watching that for bikes, you're just unprotected. And once you've been down the road that you've been with the accidents that you've had, you damn sure don't need to get strung out and, you know, get sideswiped by another cat on the car. By the same token, as you said, you want to get back, pop through those gears and say, yeah, I'm not afraid of this thing, but you got to watch out for the other guy because your body doesn't need to take another pounding like it did.
Man, I live in the country. I almost got killed by a flock of chickens one time. The damn flock of chickens ran across the road. And I remember thinking, like, what if I would have got killed by these chickens? What are you going to put on my headstone?
That'd have been a shitty way to go, because it was that what? Goddamn, how did Shane Helms die? He was riding a motorcycle and hit a flock of chickens, and one got caught up in the spokes, and one hit him in the eye, and he ran into an oak tree. That would have been the shits.
That would have been awful. Then you would have just had to, like, erase my name from the history books. It's like, fuck this guy. He never even existed.
Every morning when I got up to fix my 12 egg whites, I would have been thinking about your ass. And that's not a good thing, because there's a hurricane coming through. But let's break it down. So a couple of the things you said a while ago is you said what almost killed me was drinking and driving. You said, think before you drink. Hey, man, don't get your ass on a damn back of a motorcycle or behind the wheel of a car. You also said no good decisions are made while drinking. I can attest to that my damn self. You said it was a dumbass mistake. You're a smart cat. The whole point of this conversation was you goddamn got to make sure you think twice, because it only takes that one time for something to happen and to totally change and alter your life. You kill yourself, kill somebody else, catastrophic things happen. Shane, I'm going to give you a chance to just say what you want to say. And as far as your regards to drinking and driving and making decisions, that's what this whole conversation has been about. So if you were to drop a little 411 on a 15-year-old cat or a 25-year-old cat or a 50-year-old cat who's damn near been there, go ahead and take over the microphone and drop a little message, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Cool, yeah. I think the biggest thing is, like, we're never going to get rid of drinking and drugs and stuff like that. That's not going to happen. So that's just a silly thought process to think that that's ever going to be eliminated. So I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not telling them not to drink. I'm not telling them not to party. I'm just telling them to think before you do that shit. Have a backup plan. Have a way to get home. Because the thing is, I used to be a guy, too. Whenever I would hear about somebody getting a DUI or a DWI, you immediately think, oh, this guy's a fucked up. This guy's an alcoholic. This guy's got problems.
Yep.
But that isn't the case. There are a ton of studies out there with the person's first time, where people literally went out and got drunk for the very first time and got a DUI on the way home. And those things, and I'm telling you, they can fuck up your whole life. And for years, you got to deal with court system. You got to deal with a lot of shit that you don't even know is out there that you got to deal with once you get a DUI or a DWI, depending on what state you live in. And it's not worth it. Set aside the humiliation. Set aside all the money you're going to lose. Set aside that. The fact is, if you make that mistake, that could be the end of your life, just like that. And that's no way to go out. There's no way to go out. I mean, there's no pretty way to die. But as far as ugly ways to die, that's definitely one of them. You don't want to go out like that. Like I said, I feel like I embarrassed my family, my friends, and my fans and stuff like that. These people that look up to me, and that was hard mentally to deal with. So once again, I'm saying I'm not telling anybody what to do. As far as you live your life. Forget the legality of it. That's not this conversation. The conversation is, whatever you do, just think beforehand, plan accordingly, and don't make that mistake, because it's not only your life you're risking somebody else's. Very easily, my girlfriend could have got hurt a lot worse. And if something would have happened and she wouldn't have been here, there's no way on this earth I could have dealt with that. And I would be going too, and we wouldn't be talking. I promise you that.
The first time could be the last time.
Do what?
The first time could be the last time. So.
First time could be the last time, so don't even go there.
Don't make a bad decision. That's what this whole conversation has been about. Don't make a bad decision. Don't start drinking and then decide you're going to get your ass behind the wheel of a car on a motorcycle. Shane Helms came on here to share his story just to get that point out there. I've said many things in the past shows about I ain't trying to preach to nobody. I've been there and did what I did, and everybody's going to make the mistakes that they make in life. But with that being said, hey, if we can come out here on the Steve Austin Show, or if you check out Highway to Helms, Shane's podcast on Stitcher and iTunes and YouTube, then maybe you can drop a little of that same 411